Ojo Aba Meta Meta, third Saturday in October, 29th in Seawall, Galveston, Texas. Galveston, formerly known as Turtle Island, was a marketplace block for selling human cargo during the transatlantic slave trade. That cargo was many of our ancestors who never chose to be enslaved. We must not let this truth of history be revised, and there were others of our ancestors who were already here, drying their eyes from trails of tears. Fourth Saturday in autumn equinox, Libra season, third decan, harvest season. The season where Onile, or the spirit of Mother Earth, thins the veil between Orun, heaven, and earth. Aye. The collective voice of our ancestors amplify their presence, hence All Hallows Eve, Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, and Sankofa, the caravan to the ancestors. These celebrations all fall like leaves off a tree during this season. Sankofa. It means to go back. It means to go back to give thanks and praises to the Creator, regardless of the name in which we call him/her. To remember our ancestors, the ones we know not by name, and their ultimate sacrifice. We go back to remember our recent ancestors and the wisdom their lives left behind. We go back to reflect on where we've been, to be clearer on where we are headed. And this is my personal diary of the last decade of experiences while attending the Sankofa Caravan to the Ancestors, hosted by the Houston chapter of the National Black United Front, and how these experiences changed my life. I'm my Aunt J. Muse, and you are watching and listening to Sankofa Mewa, the Diary of 10 Caravans. Ashe. Sankofa 2011. The Masquerade Man in the Beach House. Pataki. Oni mi ojo abameta. Owara marundi logun. Odonek bawa mukanla. Marundi lokbon ojo igba ooru. Diary. Today is Saturday, October 15th, 2011. 25 days into autumn equinox. The day vibrated on a 1. A day of new beginnings. The moon was waning in the third house of Gemini, and it was a 4-year, ideal for new beginnings. This is the Caravan's 14th year in production, themed revolutionizing African people. It was also the International Year of People of African Descent, and I was so happy to be there. Life had been more intense than the year before, but my level of understanding of African spirituality, ancestors, Sankofa, was a lot better than the year before. The drums this year seemed louder to me than before, as if my very heart were the goatskin. The ocean waves seemed larger, and I was happy enough to know enough about the ocean to call her by her name, so we went and greeted Yemanja first. It was a bright, festive, sunny day, and we were fully engaged in the drum circles, fully engaged in the dance, fully engaged in the ceremony, and I allowed myself to feel the supernatural presence of the Orisha and ancestors without fear. And as I danced, for some reason I found myself spinning in spirals as the dance became more of an out-of-body experience. I think I received twice as many hugs and wisdom talks from the elders and the priestesses, and I began to notice how they always seemed to have a way of separating me from the crowd. And then it happened. The masquerade prophecies as told through an Egungun priest. He ripped through the crowd like a tornado, covered from head to toe, Mask over face, hood over head, gloves over hands, closed-toe shoes on the beach. Nothing I had ever seen before. Delivering messages to whomever was divinely appointed to receive. As he finished with the second message, he ran a ways forward down the beach, abruptly stopped, and sharply turned around. My maiden date from the year before was by my side still then, and he decided it was a good idea to nudge me right in front of the masquerading priest path. He pointed his blade directly at me, the priest did, and instantly my knees gave from under me. The energy was real. My head was bowed, hands buried in the sand. He spoke to me, but I wasn't alone under prophecy. He who I was with at the time was right by my side, head bowed, hands in the sand, receiving prophecy. His voice was a gravelly snarl of ancestral truth. It was like I could hear them in unison, all in one voice, and I felt the heat coming from behind the mask. I felt it again, the recognizing of our ancient ways that were being reintroduced. He told the man I was with death is an illusion, among other things. He told me, set your spirit free like this butterfly, as he picked up the butterfly amulet I was wearing and used it to lift my face from the ground, among other things. Interestingly, years later, the same butterfly would be consecrated as an amulet to the Orisha Oya. Amidst the many things he said to us, the one thing that stuck out to me most was this. Jesus is only as powerful as he is because people gave him that power. Those words rang in my mind years and years after they were spoken. I rose from the sand, feeling like the esoteric side of my life made even more sense than before. Last year, I spoke to the ancestors. This year, the ancestors spoke to me. We just looked at each other, me and my maiden date at that time, wondering why we were spoken to together. 2011's Caravan was the longest that we lingered after the main ceremonies were done. In the midst of all the mingling, we ended up going back to the beach house where the Egungun Society from Dallas was residing. He went where the men were, and I with the women. It was a very pleasant, welcoming energy, like spending the day with extended family. They were all very pleasant, welcoming people, especially the priestess. There was fried fish and salad, bonding, rum, deep talks, and lots of hugs. I can recall a moment where the priest and the father of the house was walking around, feeding all of us slices of bean pie off of a blade. When it came my turn, I ate the pie, but then I looked into his face. My mind flashed back to the masquerade man on the beach. I added 1 and 1. Wow. Why did this moment feel like some sort of clue? We had such a time at the beach house that we didn't leave Galveston until 3 a.m. the next rising. Ogun showed us love, 'cause I-45 was cleared all the way home. Ashe.